Good evening, every pony. Welcome to Le Brony Gourmet, the elegant cooking show made for bronies by bronies. Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Le Brony Gourmet. I am your host, Kyle Headland, aka Chef Cairo. And today, we are actually going to make a very special dish for someone very special. She is honest, sincere, and quite truly amazing in her own way. Her name is Applejack. A special dish based off of Applejack here, which is a apple marinated skirt steak with bucked up apples. And we're going to start preparing the steak over here. And what I got here is 1 pound of your average skirt steak here. You can find this at any butcher, in any grocery store. Go ahead and we're going to create our rub, or dry marination. So what I have here is I have some chili powder, some nutmeg, and finally cinnamon. And this is a very, very simple rub. I'm first going to pour in our base, which is the chili powder. I like to use roughly about 2 tablespoons of chili powder, about 3/4 of a teaspoon or tablespoon of nutmeg. And you can always customize this any way you want. If you want something a little bit more kick, you add some more chili powder. If you want to add something a little bit more sweeter, you add cinnamon. And speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and add some cinnamon. I always like to add a nice liberal amount. If you're performing in front of guests, it kind of creates a little dust cloud. Kind of little entertainment. And now we're going to mix it up a little bit. Kind of like take a quick whiff. It's just the right amount. So right after that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut the skirt steak into multiple pieces. I always like, for a skirt steak this big, I want to cut roughly maybe 3 or 4 one-serving sizes. This is just to kind of not only make the marination a little bit quicker, but it would also make the cooking time a little bit more even. And cut these. I always like to stack them on top of each other to kind of see where I am. We have a little short piece, but that's okay. And now what we're going to do, we're going to take our little spice mixture and we're going to go ahead and season. And when you season anything, I always like to kind of hold it up high so that way the spices can evenly distribute. There we go. And you want to rub it in a little bit. They don't call it a rub for nothing. And we're just going to go ahead and flip them. And we're going to rub them on the other side. I'm just going to go ahead and place it inside this bag here. And we're going to do something called dry marination. After about an hour, you'll be able to see that the spices have been fully incorporated. It starts to kind of absorb some of the meat juices inside. And we're just going to leave this one in here. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to add our liquid marination, which is this apple juice. And I kind of made some of these ahead of time so that way, because with this steak, it actually takes roughly about 30 minutes to 4 hours. So this is actually a really good dish to make when you want to make something ahead of time. and you don't have to like worry much about time constraints or anything. You can make it the night before, let it marinate overnight, and the best part is the longer you marinate a liquid marination in the skirt steak, the more juicy and tender it will be. And that apple flavor is really going to get really incorporated in there. Now, while that's marinating, we're going to go ahead and make the bacon. The bacon's really simple to do. My dad actually taught me how to make this bacon. So we want to first get a medium-low heat. What we have here is some Applewood smoked bacon. You can purchase these right in the butcher aisle of any local grocery store. I like to use Applewood because it kind of adds a nice mild sweet flavor to the bucked up apple that we're going to make. And we're going to go ahead and start cooking the bacon. And what you want to do with the bacon is you want to cook it really, really slowly. You want it to melt slowly like butter, and you still want the thick cut bacon, which, by the way, I'm actually using thick cut because it kind of adds a bit more meaty flavor. I added the meat cut, the thick cuts to kind of help with the cooking, not only with the cooking process, but also to still add that little bit of crisp without being burnt when it's going to be underneath the broiler. And we're just going to go ahead and let this cook. And while that is cooking, we're going to go ahead and start prepping the apples themselves. So I have right here 2 Brayburn apples ready to go and all washed up. And what we're going to do is we're first going to core them. And the reason being is that it's a landing place where we could put the bacon. So this is, you want to make sure that you have like a little bit of a hole. And you want to carve out the seeds and all of the like unnecessary stuff, like the stem or the little tiny bottom. And you want the apple to look exactly like this, all hollowed out and ready to cut. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting it in half. And you want to have the apple halves look exactly like this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut tiny little holes here. This will kind of give it a little bit more aromatics from the bacon that's cooking, and also some of the lemon juice that we're going to pour on there to kind of let the juices kind of flow. So just use the tip of your knife. And sometimes I like to add a few holes in the middle. A simple 1-gallon bag. Put the apples in here. And we want to take juice from half of a lemon. You can use the same knife if you wish. And we're just going to go ahead and squeeze the lemon juice in here. This would give the apples a bit more of a brighter flavor when it's cooking, and it would also prevent them from browning, which would make the presentation really, really nice. I'm going to take the air out. I'm just going to shake it around, make sure all the juice gets to every apple. That should be good. Here is the finished Applewood smoked bacon. When it's done cooking, you want to have a nice dark pink hue, almost magenta. Just think of like Pinkie Pie's vein a little bit. It helps. Trust me, it actually helps. Now that we got the bacon done, we're going to go ahead and start assembling the apples themselves. So get yourself a nice wide bacon sheet, and we want to get ourselves a nice, I want to say roughly about 7 inches or possibly more of parchment paper. I'm going to lay that flat A little trick I kind of found out is that if you kind of like fold it this way and crimp it, it will prevent it from rolling over. Bring out the Brayburn apples. If you are worried about the core, do not worry about this. The bacon is actually going to cover this, so that way the presentation will not be ruined. But the rest of the apple still has that nice sheen to it, so that way the lemon flavor can still shine through. So we're going to go ahead and place our apple halves right on the baking sheet. Make sure you don't have any lemon seeds. No, that would be kind of a bit of a damper. And next, we are going to put the pieces of bacon right over the middle. Use the wider area so that way it kind of covers like most of the apple half. We're going to go ahead and add our Gorganzola. Gorganzola is actually a type of blue cheese. I want to show you. A type of blue cheese that it's kind of more of an Italian type of blue cheese. It's really kind of strong, so you just only need like tiny handfuls right in the middle of it. So we also have some of our bacon here. So just go ahead and just take like a small handful and just kind of fill the middle of it just to top it off. And prep our broiler. You want to have your broiler low. If you do it high, it's just gonna go ahead and burn the bacon. So what we want to do is we want to slowly melt the cheese into the apple. And we're going to go ahead and prep our grill pan. The grill pan I actually have here was actually made from Denmark. You can find this in any other kitchen appliance store. It's kind of a bit expensive, but if you don't have a grill outside, this is perfect for grilling indoors. Plus, you don't necessarily need fat in order to grill it. So we're just going to go ahead and put it on medium-high. I'm just going to go ahead and take the meat out of the bag, and also to make sure you shake off the excess moisture. Here we go. I do have the meat right over here, all marinated and ready to go. A medium-high, so that way you're able to just kind of